Hello, I'm Key James. Today we're doing our first tier list, a list of social media apps and how they make me feel after using them for half an hour. What we must accept at first, though, is that this will be a subjective list, that social media varies from person to person, and social media is largely controlled by the kinds of people you keep on your app. For example, if you surround yourself with miserable people at work every single day, the chances are you'll find your workplace to be an increasingly negative environment. But if you go to work and you're surrounded by positive people, you're more likely to feel that your workplace is a positive environment. And the same goes for social media. If you've got a ton of people on social media who are always talking about wars and politics and they're always fighting, whenever you go on that app, you're going to feel the same way as well. Social media has been linked to poor mental health for many years now. Why we use social media sites when we know they're bad for us is perhaps a different discussion and something we'll save for a different video some other day. However, what we do know right now is that social media can be very addictive. It is designed to target parts of the brain that are linked to gambling. Social media is designed to be addictive. It's designed to alleviate boredom. But does it make me feel satisfied when I use it? Let's go to the list. We'll rank the list by the following categories after I've used the app for half an hour. So we have satisfied, meh, I've just wasted half an hour, get me out of here, I think the world is conspiring against me, and toxic. Let's start with the big boss then, Facebook. Facebook has been around since 2005. Mark Zuckerberg, a household name, enough users on the site to make a country. How do I feel about Facebook though, even using it generally? I don't delete people on Facebook at all. So for me, it's a treasure trove of relics. It's an archive of high school friends, a collection of photographs I was tagged in back in 2009 that I'd rather not look back on now. In fact, Facebook is a mess. It's a crowded marketplace, a virtual battlefield, a high school reunion. What annoys me the most are people sharing sensational articles that nearly always need to be fact-checked, because they are often false. Overall, it tires me out and it is the epitome of mindless scrolling. It gets a meh. Instagram has been voted by many as the most toxic social media app, full to the brim with hyper-glamorous, hyper-productive lifestyles that aren't necessarily true, which promote all the best bits and cut out all the normal experiences of being a trivial human being. A picture says 1,000 words. On Instagram, most of those words are lies. It's true the kinds of people you have on Instagram will of course affect how you feel. If you are following social media influencers on their beaches all the time, you may feel a little bit left out living in rainy England, for example. But the same can be said for artists. If you're following loads of artist accounts and they're all productive and you're seeing snapshots of very artistic pictures all the time and you're sitting watching Netflix, human beings being comparative may feel somewhat like they're not achieving what they need to achieve. It's a conveyor belt promoting comparison. There's also the popularity aspect, including things like likes and seeing how many followers someone's got compared to your own. In fairness, Instagram has tried to counteract this by hiding the number of likes someone can get on a picture. Is this enough? You can decide. But the constant abundance of fakery and snapshots of one life gives it, for me, a toxic vibe. For me, it's toxic. Snapchat has done a lot to spice itself up over the last few years, but for me, it's just really boring now. All of the best bits have been stolen by Facebook and Instagram, so once again, it's a meh from me. LinkedIn, it's MySpace for adults. Billed as the productive, corporate way of getting a job and networking, but does it work? Sure, it works. People get jobs on LinkedIn all of the time. But is it also a fantasy land full of fake achievements and self-delusion? Absolutely. Using LinkedIn for 5-10 minutes to get a job or network is productive. But sitting on LinkedIn for half an hour scrolling? No way. Get me out of here. TikTok, I've made a lot of videos on TikTok before. I am a content creator on TikTok, and that as a video creator is great. But watching TikTok as a passive viewer is a very different experience. You don't choose what you watch on TikTok. You scroll, and the algorithm gives you what you think you want to watch. The problem is, it's nearly always negative. If you like cars, for example, you're more likely to see car crashes than car shows. There's a reason for this. Surveys have shown that people who are feeling negative or anxious actually stay on the app for longer than those that are satisfied. The passion that drives us in anger or the edginess of anxiety keeps us hooked to the app even longer, which means you're more likely to see more adverts, which means more money for TikTok. So for TikTok, it's more profitable for you to feel anxious or angry on the app rather than satisfied. For that reason, I'm giving it toxic. Twitter. I'm just going to say this right away. The world is conspiring against me. That's the automatic feeling I have when I look at Twitter. Once billed as a vessel of free communication and exchange, it has now turned into culture wars between the hard left and the hard right. An epicenter of misinformation, a breeding ground of extreme wokeness and or racism. A melting pot of sensational news articles designed to make you triggered so that you tweet and argue with people 1,000 miles away from you. It also gives people a sense of false self-importance. When Donald Trump had a Twitter account, sure, every tweet he wrote was on the news, it was talked about, it even shaped foreign policy. But everyone else seems to think they are Donald Trump. Trump on Twitter? Influential to a certain extent. The average person living in London on Twitter? No one's really going to care. But Twitter makes you feel like they do. When the app is brimming with toxic people and massive arguments, that's not always a good thing. So, which social media app makes me feel satisfied? Well, none of them. The closest we got was Meh. I'm on these apps, I use these apps sometimes because I want to cure boredom. But the short-term investment of curing my boredom comes at the expense of long-term satisfaction. And that's something I need to look at. And if you feel the same, something you may also wish to address in the future. Just because something feels passive and easy doesn't mean it's the right thing. None of the apps on this graph have made me feel satisfied. Yet, whenever I open the app, I am subconsciously thinking that I will be satisfied after using them. Are we surprised? Not really. Not really at all. I'm Key James, thank you for watching and have a good week.